Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with the Draven updated complete guide for patch 4.2. Well, I guess 4.2a onwards, although I normally just say 4.2, but you know, kind of the same thing. Basically with the new ADC items and etc. Alright, so let's just jump straight into it, no time wasted. Of course, I'm gonna refer you to the basic guide we released yesterday to take a look at, of course, Draven's skills, living order, tips and tricks, as well as combos. So check that out in the cards if you have not. So anyways, jumping straight into it, first item we have, of course, is going to be the Immortal Shield Bow. Now, Immortal Shield Bow did just get nerfed, but I think that Immortal Shield Bow is an item that Draven loves. Gives you a decent amount of AD, still 40 AD, gives you a little bit of lifesteal, not really the most. However, it does of course give you that huge shield, which of course did get a little bit less huge now. However, still gives you that shield for the protection, and of course that's amazing on Draven because he loves to fight, and that shield in like an all-in fight makes all the difference. So Draven loves shield bow as a first item. So honestly, a possible other first item is going to be the collector. You could possibly go for collector first and shield bow second, but I personally don't. I personally go for shield bow first, and I'm gonna explain why. So the second item we have is gonna be the collector. Of course, collector gives you 40 AD, crit, armor pen, as well as of course the execution passive. So I only go collector personally when I'm ahead. So I'm talking about like getting 1 or 2 kills in lane. Then I'm gonna go to the collector build because that allows me to of course snowball my lead even heavier with of course the execution, the armor penetration, so on and so forth. However, if I'm not ahead, I actually like to skip collector and I like to go into the rest of the build. So I'm gonna show you guys that build later on, but let's finish talking about this build first. So afterwards, we go for the Bloodthirster for the huge amount of AD, the physical vamp, as well as the Bloodstone Shield, and finally we end off with an IE, which of course gives you the boost to your crit damage as well as giving you more AD and crit. Now, you'll notice that firstly, you'll notice number 1, IE is our last crit item, and the reason for this is I believe that the survivability from both the Shield Bow and the Bloodthirster is more important, and Collector for snowballing, and IE only comes in at the very end. Secondly, you'll notice that IE is generally before the Maul Reminder. Of course, we go for Maul Reminder so we don't, overshot crit into 125%. So, Maul Reminder, of course, it makes the most sense. Serraldo's Grudge doesn't really make sense for Draven, so Maul Reminder generally is our last item. And this is because I noticed, especially with a snowballing game, most of the time the armor penetration is not really important because Draven normally has the damage to kill tanks just with his normal attacks if he gets fed anyways. And if you're like running behind, like if you're falling behind, then you probably don't want to go for this build anyway, which is why normally armor penetration is my last item. So if I'm behind, I like to go for this kind of build, or if I'm not ahead, I don't necessarily have to be behind. I like to go for this build, which is of course Shield Bow into Bloodthirster into IE, of course skipping the Collector, and then we get our armor penetration on our fourth item, which is of course going to be LDR to of course get 100% crit in 4 items, and then GA to top it off. And of course we're now going to jump back into the collector build, which is the build we use in the gameplay, and talk about the boots. So for boots, generally you have a pretty free choice of boots. You honestly could go for any boots other than Lucidity boots. So you could go for Boots of Fear for movement speed since you don't have Phantom Dancer. You could go for defensive boots, which are both going to help you in different ways against different team comps. You could even go for Gluttonous Greaves because Draven loves lifesteal. His main stats he wants are AD and lifesteal, so getting Gluttonous Greaves could make a lot of sense as well. For the runes, I like going personally for Lethal Tempo. Now, the rune options are pretty wide on Draven. You could go for Conqueror, you could go for Kraken Slayer, and the reason why these are good is because Conqueror gives you AD as well as it gives you lifesteal, and you can stack this up on Draven and use auto attack people. You gain enough attack speed from your W already, so you don't really need, you may not really need attack speed. So next up is Kraken Slayer, of course 3-hit passive, which of course allows you to proc true damage every 3 hits. On Draven it's pretty decent, but it's generally my least like option out of the 3, and personally I like going for Lethal Tempo. Now why? You would think that, you know, Draven, you want AD, you want lifesteal, that's Conqueror, why would you want a Lethal Tempo? Well, personally, after testing all 3 runes of Draven, I realized that I realized that Lethal Tempo, sorry, is pretty much the best rune for Draven, in my opinion at least. And a lot of the top Draven players also take Lethal Tempo. I mean, honestly, Draven's rune is really a toss-up between the three. Like, when you take a look at the top 10 Dravens, you're going to see all three of those runes. It's kind of a personal preference thing, but I love taking Lethal Tempo because you don't have any attack speed in your build aside from Shield Bolt at 15%. You do have attack speed from your W, but gaining the attack speed from Lethal Tempo, you get to a point where you're DPSing so fast. I honestly think you don't need any more AD and lifesteal from Conqueror because you already get so much from your build anyway. I think that getting the lifesteal in this case actually does make sense because it increases your DPS really significantly. So that's why I like taking Conqueror. Now here I like to go for Hunter Vampirism for the lifesteal. I think it's the most consistent rune here. Now, you could also go for something like Brutal or like Triumph, but I think that these are really inconsistent, and the reason I say that is because Brutal, it falls off really fast because Draven, he's gonna scale up you with his items anyway. You don't really need Brutal. Triumph only really works when people are low. Like, it does help you get executes, it does help you cash in, does help with the collector as well, but again, it only works when people are low. So I think Hunter Vampirism is going to be the most consistent rune out of them. Oh, of course, you could also go Giant Slayer if you're against a very tanky team. Then of course Bone Plating for the anti-burst, or Perseverance if you need it. And we also have Nimbus Cloak for the movement speed. And I think that honestly in this case, this one kind of just makes the most sense. You could also even go for Mana Flow Band, to be honest, because you spam a lot of W, you run out of mana from time to time. Transcendence doesn't really make sense because his ability cooldowns are really short anyways. And for the spells, always take Flash, and most of the time I take Ghost, and I take Ghost if I can. Why? It's a lot easier to run people down with Ghost. You Ghost and you W, the movement speed you get is insane. People cannot run away from you, especially if they have no tower. You can easily just run them down, get kills, get resets, run out, or run more people down. Of course, if you do need Exhaust, though, do go for Exhaust instead of Ghost. That's pretty much it for Draven's loadout. Now let's talk about the gameplay itself. Okay, so jumping into the gameplay now, of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will, of course, be sure to address them or drop a like. Okay, so now, first thing we're going to cover real briefly is going to be Draven's lane partner. Generally, Draven prefers an engager like Nautilus, Leona, that sort of deal. Of course, so that he can follow up. They of course want to go. You of course want to go in because you're super aggressive in the early game. But good news is that Draven still works fine with enchanters. It's not something like a Samira where you need to have an enchanter. It's an engager. It's sort of just something that's preferable. So if you land up with like a Lulu or like a Janna or even a Nami, it's not the end of the world. In fact, Nami's pretty good with Draven because of how aggressive she can be in the early game as well. So yeah. So here. First up, we're against a Braum and a Vayne. Now, Vayne obviously hard loses to Draven in the early game, and Braum actually cannot really do anything with Draven in the early game. So here, we're actually in a really good lane matchup. The only thing Braum can do is try to block Draven autos. Now, Draven is actually really weak against poke. So think about like Ezreal, Varus. Now, I wouldn't even say weak, but he's susceptible to poke. So you want to play aggressive, you're going to get poked down, and it's really hard for you to all-in afterwards. So you're either weak against poke or you're weak against another all-in. Like for example, like a Caitlyn who can poke you and then all-in you, for example. So this lane, we have like Braum, Vayne. Basically, they cannot poke, they cannot all-in because Vayne is really weak. So it's really a free lane for Draven. Now the only thing about this is we need to try to score kills in this lane. Now obviously you can see they're playing super safe, they're always under tower, so that's really challenging. So what you want to do as a Draven is either number one, you make use of your lane priority to rotate to jungle fights, like for example at Scuttle or like or in the enemy jungle to of course kill enemy jungler and get a hit, which is of course dependent on whether there is a skirmish breaking in the jungle. Or number two, you want to just shove them under tower like what we're doing here, leave the river ward. You can see we got a control ward in the tri-bush and we have a Scuttle, so we can see if jungler is coming. Of course, unless they do a huge loop inside our jungle, which is highly unlikely. And then you harass them on the tower constantly. So eventually they're going to probably slip up and you're probably going to be able to get a kill, or you can just dive with Leona. Of course, diving a Braum is really risky, but in a circumstance where, for example, me and Leona are full HP and they're like half HP, you know, it's going to be fine. So anyways, here, since we can't get anything done, we're just going to reset. Looks like they have reset as well. If we see that they haven't reset, we could always cancel, but of course Vayne was really smart here by allowing us to fully reset first, and then she's going to go out and get the minions. So this is a small window where Vayne actually is able to farm, without us constantly harassing her. But on the flip side, we've gone back to get Noon Quiver and Longsword, whereas she has not. So here, we're of course going to have a window where she's going to back, and we're going to have free reign to just push in, and either harass the Braum or get free tower damage and plates, which also works as well. Like if you can get kills, getting plates is still good. Of course it's not really ideal because you do want to get kills and get the cash in. However, so long as you don't die to jungle, it's still not going to be so bad. A really common mistake made by Draven players is they're way too desperate to get kills in the early game, and they may end up having a really good laning phase, and then it all gets ruined by one bad dive. You die, you lose half of your stacks, and you're no longer that ahead. You don't get the huge cash in. So that's a mistake I made when I first picked up Draven, because I really felt pressured all the time to go for a huge fight, a huge all-in, but you really don't have to. You see what I'm doing here? I'm playing aggressive enough that the enemy is scared of me, and I'm getting free autos wherever I can, but at the same time I'm not randomly diving for no reason. Here I end up getting a really good trade onto Braum. Leona hits the ulti, and I'm able to follow up with a free ulti for both front and back, because of course with the Leona ulti, I'm able to hit both parts of my ulti for free, and I'm able to get a cash in of 454 gold if you guys caught what happened there. So I'm able to get my shield bow, and the reason why we didn't re-dive onto the Vayne is because we have a Twitch jungle on the enemy team. So firstly, when you're playing against a Twitch jungle, you never really know if he's there because he's invisible, of course, unless he gets spotted on the control ward. So he's invisible, you don't know if he's there, and we don't see him on vision anywhere else, so we have to assume that he's around the area, and as such we don't want to play too aggressive and re-dive the Vayne. Secondly, this is actually the third match in a row I'm playing against this Swain Twitch duo, and because I'm actually duo with Leona here, so I'm playing against this Swain Twitch duo, and I've actually lost to them 2 times in a row already, and the Swain and Twitch are actually pretty good. So the Twitch knows how to take advantage of overextended lanes and such, so I really didn't want to risk him getting a hit again. And yeah, so here once again I'm back to my same strategy. Swain is actually coming in for the gank here. Once again I do the same trick of taking advantage of the Leona ult to of course get a free ult in. I'm able to actually pick up a double kill, and then we're gonna dive the Swain, and Akali is able to pick up a kill as well. And here unfortunately shield bow does end up getting popped, but it's completely fine. So once again we don't know where the Twitch is, so we can't really stay and farm tower plates because we're really low. We don't have shield bow, and we don't want to stick around and let the Twitch kill us. So we're doing really well here. We're snowballing out of control 3-0 and 1, which is why of course I decided to go for my collector build. As I mentioned, I really only like going for collector if I'm obscenely ahead. Not even obscenely, if I got 2 kills in lane with by the time I reach my second item, I normally want to go for collector. If I don't have 2 kills, I normally of course go for Bloodthirster next. So regardless, here we're back into the lane. Huge amount of enemy minions, so we can't really play too aggressive because the minion aggro is going to do a lot of damage to us. So getting an auto or 2 onto the enemies, and then we're going to go back to clearing the minion wave. So here we're pretty safe to play aggressive because you can see there's a pit, there's a ward behind the pit, and there's also a control ward in the tri-bush, so very unlikely that Twitch can actually sneak in on us without us noticing. Here we can actually see Twitch briefly show, there we go, so Twitch is actually there on the rotation. You can see him coming through the control ward, so here I'm actually flashing out. Here Leona actually does end up dying to the Twitch eventually, but I'm still completely safe. Expunge from Twitch does a pretty decent amount of damage, and I'm put to pretty low health. Of course picking up the fruit brings me back to about half HP. But yet again we do want to of course stay safe. So here the whole area is still fully warded. Now the reason why I'm still playing really safe is because Twitch could be camping the bush in the lane which I don't have warded. So if he didn't recall and he's camping that bush, if I walk up, I'm gonna just be in huge danger. I'm just gonna die. So here I'm doing the safe thing, which is to of course stay under tower and wait for the minions to come in, and then I'm gonna farm. Now of course it's always possible that me walking out here, he could still be doing that, but if he commits 20 seconds to camping that bush, and then he kills me, I think that's kind of well deserved. I don't think that anyone really does that. Anyways, ironically, from the off of Leona's death and off the enemy reset, I'm actually able to pick up 2 plates. Leona's able to get back into the lane, and we're able to get back into another fight. Braum actually flash us forward to try to actually block my autos to prevent me from getting the plate, but I managed to get it anyway. So I'm able to almost get every single plate from the tower except the last one from actually destroying the tower. And of course we already lost first tower on bot lane, so that's not first tower anyways, but we are still, you know, obscenely ahead. We're like 7k gold here. Braum spots us recalling. That bush must have been warded, but of course I'm paying attention. I'm not shopping, so I don't actually get caught out. So I'm able to, of course, recall, and I'm able to pick up the collector. So now with the collector completed, obviously, you know, we're able to get the execute, and with the extra lethality and extra AD, this is going to help out a ton. So here I spawn out a fight in the mid lane. I actually ult straight down. This actually hits like 3 people with the ulti, so I do contribute to my team's damage, even though we don't actually kill anybody here. Matter of fact, Leona does end up dying. So here I'm a really fed Draven. Here they're actually chasing us down. So here I managed to actually get a nice E to split them up as well as slow them down. Vi picks up a kill. Here I with the collector, I'm gonna pick up a kill onto Braum as well as, of course, Vayne. And then Akali's able to engage onto the Twitch. Now here you guys can see just how far ahead I am. I'm 8+ K gold. I see Twitch is only like 5k gold. I'm 3k gold ahead of it. I'm not even scared of the tower. I'm just running him down under the tower. Like, honestly, since his whole team is dead, I honestly could have literally just run him down under the tower, but I chose not to do that because I really don't enjoy playing so aggressive on Draven. Draven really isn't my kind of champion. He's not my playstyle. I don't play, you know, I'd like to play that aggressive. I prefer to play a little bit more safe. Something like, you know, a Caitlyn is a lot more of my tune, like standing behind and just auto-attacking people. So honestly, I would say that that's a mistake. I should have just dived the tower and just killed him, because there shouldn't have been anything he could do against me aside from just go invisible and, you know, make it such that I'm unable to kill him. So here we kill the tower losing a couple of autos, and now they don't have the tower to hide behind. Twitch comes in. Here Leona gets a beautiful ult and allows me to once again combo with my ult. I'm able to get the execute onto the Twitch. Akali picks up a double, and we once again wrap up another really clean fight. Now here I'm using the enemy Crux to number 1 deny the farm, but number 2 lifesteal off of the Crux to put me back to full health. And of course we're waiting on Dragon to spawn, which is only about 10+ seconds away from spawning. So here, in the meanwhile, nothing much is really happening. So I'm just roaming over to the mid lane and seeing if there's anything that can be done. Nothing really can be done here, so I'm just going to head back to the Dragon. Of course, Dragon has already been control warded. And now we're just going to, of course, simply just go ahead and take the Dragon. Should be pretty simple. I DPS the Dragon really quickly, especially after Dragon became a lot less tanky in patch 4.2. And now we're just going to quickly farm up the mid wave. Once again, nothing to be scared of. Even if Swain hits the root on me there and pulls me in, nothing's going to really happen to me. His teammates are not around to follow up. He's not going to be able to kill me. So that's really kind of the crux of playing Draven. You really want to be aggressive. You should be scared of the tower to a certain extent, but not that scared of the tower that you never take a tower shot. Of course, you have to know your limits, have to be aware of where the enemy team is, and when they're not around, you can always take advantage of that and play aggressive even when the enemy is under tower. Remember that as a Draven, the tower is not really a huge issue for you unless the whole enemy team is around to CC you or to follow up. Aside from that, you actually don't have to even be that scared of the tower. However, over here, it's not really the tower that we have to be scared of, but it's really the enemy team. So here my team ends up going in for the fight before I actually reached it, and by the time I reached there, they have been so chunked out that they basically end up dying, and because of that I don't have enough time to really DPS, and they end up running me down. I have to pop both my ghost and flash in order to get out alive and not give over a huge shutdown. Now I'm at 10k gold, but if you notice, actually my Vi is incredibly fed. She's at like she's only 1k gold behind me, but considering I have Draven passive and I have 6 kills, she's actually really far ahead despite her only being 3 and 2. If we take a look at the rest of the map, everyone else is more or less doing fine on both my team and the enemy team. They're all ranging from 7 to 8k, but of course, as a Draven, you generally do have some sort of pressure to end the game before you get outscaled. Obviously, when we reach later on into the game, I'm going to get hard outscaled by both Twitch and Vayne, so you do have some kind of pressure to end the game early. However, a good practice that I like to have when I play Draven is I imagine that I scale. So basically what I mean by that is, if you always tell yourself that you have to fight now and you have to end the game now because you're going to get outskilled by Twitch and Vayne, you're going to feel overly pressured to make a play, and when you do that, you generally tend to make either a stupid play or you tend to make more mistakes, either mechanically or like just macro-wise. So I like to literally trick myself into thinking that I actually do scale, and as such, I don't feel too pressured to end the game. And generally, the enemy team is gonna kill themselves in the sense that they are generally just gonna pick a fight when you're there, and they're just gonna end up killing themselves because they're just gonna get destroyed by you. Now, of course, this is not one of those cases because they pick a fight when I'm walking out of base, and because of that, my whole team ends up dying. Twitch picks up a triple kill, and this basically gives the enemy team a possible Baron. Now, if I was the enemy team here, I would be going to the Baron because even though I'm 606 as Draven, I cannot like 1v3 a Braum, Twitch, and Swain at the Baron. So I would have gone for Baron if I were them, but they're more content to push down mid lane instead, which in my opinion is a macro mistake. They aren't going to be able to actually pick up the mid lane tier 2. They're not even going to be able to pick up the mid lane inhibitor, so I think that was kind of a waste of getting like 4 kills on their team. But we do end up escaping without losing the Baron, at least for now. Of course, they could possibly be falling back onto the Baron, which is why we're going ahead to check if they're on the Baron. Turns out they are absolutely not on the Baron, so they completely wasted an opportunity to get a Baron, which in my opinion is bad. So here, we are looking for a possible pick onto Braum. Kennen has CC, so I'm kind of looking for Kennen to CC the Braum. Braum ends up flashing. We didn't get the pick, but we do get Braum's flash, which is not the worst in the world. Dragon is coming up in 45 seconds. The tower is only like 97 HP. Honestly, I could just walk in and just auto-attack the tower once and just kill it. But instead I'm just going to clear out the wave first, and then we're going to, of course, pick up the tower. Swain is now here. You can see Nasus and Vayne at the top lane. Dragon is spawning, so we do want to make our way there. We're going to just reset and walk to Dragon. Twitch is, of course, missing. He's actually at the Dragon area. We managed to get a BF sword. Huge increase in AD from the BF sword. Great pickup before Dragon, and here we're going to run straight to Dragon, or rather we're going to run straight to mid where our team is. So now we have to enter the Dragon area together. You can see Nasus is in there. I don't want to control ward that bush, so here I'm letting someone else do it. So here you can see I'm getting a fight where I can easily free hit from the back, and no one is actually hitting me. I'm just juggling axes, hitting people and whacking people down. Still no one is hitting me, so this is kind of a dream fight. Now finding Twitch is focusing me. It's too late. I'm able to focus him down. However, unfortunately, my team ends up dying during this entire time. I get slowed down by the Wither from Nasus. I know there's no escaping, so I'm just standing and fighting. I'm trying to trade the kill onto the Nasus before I die. I don't manage to trade the kill, unfortunately, but Akali is now in a 1v1 versus the Swain since she has picked up the kill onto the Nasus. Only Swain left alive on their side, and on our side we have both Vi and Akali up and alive. Since he doesn't actually have his ulti anymore, this should be a free kill for my team. We do manage to get the kill, and as a result, we're gonna go on to the Dragon. Now, Twitch is only just respawning. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a waste of time to do that from Akali. We need to be DPSing the Dragon as fast as possible because this Dragon is not that tanky. Dragon's no longer very tanky, but Vayne ends up popping out of nowhere, getting the kill on Akali. Akali does waste quite a bit of time by going into the Shroud. And we do end up securing the Dragon, but Vi does end up dying for it. And yeah, so overall we still did get the Dragon, and we actually get triple Dragon off of that, which is really, really critical. However, I think it could have been done a little bit better. I think that, Vi didn't need to die there if Akali focused the Dragon right away. But, we do end up securing the Dragon, so not too big of a complaint from me. Here I have my IE completed, so I'm going to back and complete my IE. Now this of course gives me 100% crit for crit items, and of course I'm really, really strong now. Now of course the two tanky champions on the enemy team, the Nasus and the Nasus and the Braum, is going to be sort of an issue. During this whole time, because Vi was dead, the enemy team was of course taking the Baron, and I wasn't even in position to really do anything about it. I can't say it's not too big of a deal because it kind of is. Enemy team did get Baron, but in my opinion, we're still not too bad. Both teams are relatively even in goal. Of course, at this point, I'm gonna start to fall off soon the moment like Twitch and Vayne start hitting item power spikes. Twitch is on 3 items, and Vayne is also now on 3 items, so they're gonna be really strong. I'm of course still really strong on 4 items, but I can no longer just roll over them that easily anymore. So here, once again, I have my teammates tanking damage from me, and here I'm just DPSing from the back, of course juggling my axes. Here I managed to kill the Nasus, and here I'm trying to kite out the Twitch as well as the Vayne. Vayne tries to run me down. Shield Bow does pop. I'm able to get in a couple of huge autos, giving me lifesteal as well as letting the tower finish off the Vayne. Vayne, you know, got a little bit too excited about trying to kill me. We do still end up losing the inhibitor though, and here I'm running back to try to, of course, save the game. Unfortunately though, I do end up just straight up dying there. The Twitch and Swain, as I mentioned just now briefly, are pretty good players. They do really high amounts of damage. Swain is 10, 4, and 8 actually. He's going like for a really tanky build as well. And Twitch, of course, now is on 3 items, so he's going to be really strong. Seer Swain is left on 1 HP. Twitch is getting run down. And we're able to kill both of them, fortunately, with the help of Cannon's ulti. So here Vi is just going to clear out the wave. Here enemy Baron buff has, of course, expired, and now the Elder Dragon is up. So basically the Elder Dragon fight is going to be crucial. More or less at this point, both teams are relatively even. We do have that triple dragon win condition. However, we also have on our team champions like Draven, whereas on their team they have hyper scaling champions like Vayne, like Twitch, and even Nasus. So if the game goes on for any much longer, I think we're going to be in deep trouble. So basically this Elder Dragon fight should kind of determine who wins the game. More or less, whoever gets this Elder Dragon is probably going to just win the game. Or unless, you know, everyone dies just getting the Elder Dragon and any team's able to finish us off. But more or less, this Elder Dragon should be the big fight of the game. Now here with my X juggling, I'm able to DPS the dragon really quickly. And because of that, we are able to quickly get the Elder Dragon. Enemy team is not able to get into the pit to do anything. We still don't have a real good idea of where the Twitch is. Now here we're not actually immediately engaging onto the enemy team. We're instead going to clear out our waves, and then the best thing to do here is to do the classic move of then waiting for a Baron to spawn in 45 seconds, and then we can get the Baron Elder. And in fact, in this case, we have the triple dragon like Exodia combination, and with that we should be able to just close out the game. Of course, if the enemy picks a random fight with us, you know, with the Elder Dragon buff, we should be able to win that fight, of course, unless it's a pick. So here Nasus makes the relatively big mistake of stepping up a little bit too far. Like here, right here, allows Vi to engage on him, allows me to get a couple of free hits on him. Once again, the Leona combo with me able to get a free ulti. Here, Cannon is able to get a huge ulti as well, and I'm able to kill Twitch off at the side. Only Swain is left alive, and we're all able to just dive the Swain. Swain might be tanky, but he's not tanky enough to handle 5 people. And basically off of that, we should be able to win the game right here, right now. Just pushing all the way into the base. Of course, it's past 18 minutes. No longer have the huge Nexus shield at this point. Enemy team surrenders, and we end up winning the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.